Hello everybody, and welcome to something a little bit different. Today, I'm going to be talking about the legal Cannonball Run. So if you know anything about car racing or just cars in general, you would know about the infamous Cannonball Runs which originated in the US. Basically, the goal is to get from one side of the country to the other as fast as possible without caring about the legality of it all. So this means cars being tuned for high performance and endurance, but to still be able to race on city streets. Basically like any car enthusiast dream, except very expensive and very much illegal. These runs were originally inspired by Australian Cannonball Baker with his run across the United States in 1914. But this isn't going to be talking about the entire history of the Cannonball Run because there's plenty of stuff about that. Today, we're going to be talking about the two Cannonball Runs which were held in Australia, one of which was actually legal. The first part of which takes us back to the 1980s. The first official Cannonball Run that was held in Australia was in 1984, called the Australian Cannonball Cup, so pretty simple stuff. The plan was to run from Melbourne to Perth with the same rules as the US version of the Cannonball Run. Basically, no rules, and you just have to go as fast as possible. Predictably, as it goes with anything that seems mildly fun, there was public outrage towards the race.
Do you agree with this style of race?
No, not when there's people on the road.
And the organisers were forced into dubbing it as a navigation and endurance rally, with a disqualification for any team that was caught by police for a driving offence. The entry fee per team was $550, and the winner took home $10,000. In order to actually enter the race, you had to fill out one of these weird entry forms and call the number that was listed and send them your deposit check. That was a whole load of trust back then because you were putting your trust in the organisers and also the Australian mail system, and that was $550, which was quite a bit of money back in the 80s. Nevertheless, 76 teams entered the race, but on the 2nd of November in 1984, only 33 teams showed up to contest the race, mostly because they were scared of being booked by the police since the race was so closely followed through all three states it went through.
Shocking. We've been pulled up more times than...
There's a lot out there, is there?
There's police, I suppose, on every corner from the border to here.
Really?
We've been picked up just for no reason, just for being picked up, I think.
The organisers chose to run the race anyway, regardless of the low numbers, with Jay Renish being the first to set off, with the other 32 cars following behind him at 2-minute intervals. Throughout the race, many of the drivers were fined by the police, with many also being arrested for reaching such high speeds.
We think this red panel van was booked coming into Norseman at 177. This is what we've heard on the CV. And he's in the can.
Right.
And there's also another Holden Commodore, 5 litre. It's a not mauve colour. Plum coloured one. He was booked for 240 or something through a town, so he's well and truly in the clean.
On the 4th of November, the first team arrived in Fremantle, a suburb of Perth, in Western Australia, with a time of 32 hours and 22 minutes. This was the team of Charles Kovacs and Len Walsh. They were controversially disqualified from the race weeks after it was found that they had been booked for a driving offence. This meant that the official winners were John Hassard, Ian Bray and John Crowell. No other team were disqualified despite the fact that there were many other competitors that were counted as classified despite being caught by the police for driving offences. But the controversies don't stop there. The $10,000 prize money was never paid out to any team, so in the end the controversy over who got what position didn't even matter. The Australian Cannonball organisation had a press release after the race stating that they were going to assist in the preparation of the 1985 Cannonball Run from Melbourne to Darwin, which was a much better idea since in the Northern Territory most of the highways at the time had unrestricted speed limits, but it never happened. But we'll get to that part later. The most interesting part of this press release was that the organisation claimed that 3 weeks prior to the event, the registered offices of the company were broken into by persons known to them. So the organisation actually knew who had broken into the offices and who had stolen the entry list which had the entrants' personal details on it. They also stole the financial records of the company and blank checks from the company's checkbooks. Since the personal details of the entrants were now available, journalists began harassing the competitors at work and at home leading up to the 1984 race, which is why the entries dropped from 76 to 36 entries. Well, that's what the company claims anyway. The company even states in the press release that a last-minute decision was made to continue with the event rather than admit defeat. So they were making a last-minute decision that in the end would be the demise of the company, based off a whim to not admit defeat. But really, the people that were running it probably weren't the best people to seek business advice from, considering they were originally planning to run a completely illegal event. Now, I'm not saying that running this event was a bad idea, but maybe it should have been explained to the drivers that there was a possibility that there wasn't any prize money at the end. Towards the end of the press release, it states that the Cannonball has a good working relationship with the police, which wasn't really evident in the footage that is available that shows police lining up outside of the starting point on a farm in the Melbourne suburbs. On the 9th of January in 1985, it was revealed that the Australian Cannonball Company owed approximately $50,000 to hotels, motels, airline, film companies and entertainers. So if you do some quick calculations, if the 76 competitors had entered at an entry price of $550, it would only add up to $41,800, so it wouldn't even cover the cost of the race. But if we do the calculation for how many competitors actually turned up, which is only 36, it adds up to $19,800, which only leaves the company with $9,800 after $10,000 of prize money was paid out. Also, on the topic of prize money, the winner of Charlie Kovacs said that he spent $6,000 on building his car, so he figured if he could win and turn a profit of $4,000, it wasn't too bad. But it wasn't to be, since the check had bounced before they had even left Perth. So basically, from a financial standpoint, the race was destined to be a failure before it even began. But that didn't stop the company from attempting a second race to Darwin from Melbourne in 1985 with the same prize money and the same entry fee. But another group offering $40,000 in prize money was also planning on running a cannonball to a secret destination, but had an entrance fee of $2,000 and the entry number capped at 50. Neither of the runs eventuated, but the idea of doing a run in the Northern Territory, where most of the highways were unrestricted, did finally happen almost a decade later, but that will be part 2.